All right, so let's talk about indexed arrays in Bash. We already talked about it a little bit with the $@ which indexes over $1, $2, $3, etc. But we can define these ourselves. Bash has arrays built in. So let's go ahead and vim indexed arrays, we'll call it. This will be a new script, and we can do all of our work in here. So let's save that, reopen it. I forgot to make it executable, didn't I? Well, we can do that later. We can say array equals, just like we're making a variable, open and close parenthesis. This is how you make an array in Bash, by open and closing parenthesis. Now we can put things in here. Foo, bar, baz. There we go. That's an array. The array has 3 items, and now we can echo array, right? So let's go ahead. Let's make this executable before I forget, and let's run it. Okay, well, what's going on here? We're only getting the first element of the array. Actually, yes, that is exactly what's happening here. When you expand it like a normal variable, you will only get the first element of the array. That's very important to note. If you want to get all the elements in the array, you're going to need some special notation here. So let's say, not even all the elements, if you wanted to get any other element, if you wanted to index it, you would need an alternative syntax, and I will show you what that looks like. So in another language, you might have like open square bracket, 0, close square bracket. In Bash, you have the same thing, but look at the syntax highlighting. You see it's already kind of broken there. We have to do this. We have to put a curly brace open here and a curly brace closed here. So when you want to use that square bracket notation, you do need to use the curly braces around the variable. Technically speaking, this is also valid. This will just expand the way it would without the curly braces. The curly braces are optional. I prefer to leave them off, but you can put the curly braces here and it will expand exactly the same. If I run this, we'll just get foo. But now that we have these curly braces, I can do this, and we will also get foo because foo is the 0th element. But now that we have this, we can duplicate that line, YYP for yank the line and paste. Let's do this. Let's go over here and let's increment this number. Let's increment that number twice. Control A to increment. Is it useful giving these Vim little shortcuts as I go through? I don't know. I'll have to decide if I keep doing that. Hopefully it's not too annoying. So now we have array spot 0, array spot 1, and array spot 2. Let's go ahead and run that. Hey, look at that. We got foo bar baz. That's what's in there. So we can say, that's awesome. Let's go over here and let's get array spot 3. What do we get? We get a blank line. There's nothing there. So it will expand like it's an empty string. Bash kind of treats it like an empty string, and you can use it that way. We also have some magic here. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's make our life easier. Let's say 0 is this, 1 is this. That way we can just kind of see in the output what's happening here. We can do this, -1. So what do you think is going to happen? If we index on -1, we get baz. You can index negatively into arrays in Bash, so you can go backwards through an array. So we get the last element with -1. Of course, -2 works, -3, yada, yada, yada. They all work how you expect. So you can do this, and you can index backwards through an array. Super useful. I'll throw another echo here just so we can get more new lines in the output. Now that we have this, we can do another thing. So let's say we want to do index equals 2. We can echo, what was it? Index, and we will get array spot IDX. So let's see if this works. And it does. Index is baz, so that is array spot 2. So we got that from a variable. So you can put the index you want in a variable. Also, when you're using this notation with indexed arrays, you don't need the $sign there. This is totally valid. This is totally works. This is how I prefer to write it. So these two lines will be exactly the same. The $sign is optional when you are indexing into indexed arrays, or arrays that are numeric. Their key is numeric, is what I'm trying to say when I say that. So now, how can we look at all the items in an array? This part's where it gets a little bit weird, but bear with me because I will explain some of the differences here, because there are some massive gotchas with this. We can do this star notation, and we can also do the @ notation. So the @ is very similar to how we looped over the arguments. There's also star. So I will show you what that looks like. Let's say star : this and @ that. Let's go ahead and run it. And, well, hey, they both gave us all the elements of it, right? Like this, it both seems like they're working totally fine here, right? Well, let's see. So let's go ahead and loop over the elements of the array. So the first thing we're going to do is loop over star. So what that means is for item in, we'll use the star notation. Actually, let's clear things up. Let's go ahead and get rid of some of this stuff right here. and let's get rid of this and just loop over the array. Okay, do, done, echo, item is item. So we're just going to loop over the array. We are using the star notation and we have quoted it, right? So let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. Well, that's not great. It looks like there's only one item in the array and the item is foo space bar space baz. So that's not what we want. If we put the @ sign here, this will properly break it as an array. This is what you want. You want quotes around it and you want the @ sign. The star is for when you're stringifying the elements of an array, when you want a string at the end of it. The @ sign is for when you want to treat it like an array, when you want to sequence over it, when you want to iterate over it. Leaving out the quotes is never right. Now you can do it here and it will seem to work. In fact, if you leave out the quotes and you put a star here, they will effectively be the same. They will both seem to work. And this is great until your array elements have unique members in them. So let's say we have foo, bar, baz, and hey there, friend. A string of hey there, friend. Do you see what's going to happen here? If we run this, it thinks there are 6 items in the array. That is not true. There are 4 items in the array. The last item is a string that has white space in it. So we have to put the quotes back. We have to put the @ sign here. And this will properly break the array up the way that it's supposed to be broken up, okay? Quotes and the @ sign is how you properly loop over an array in Bash. So commit that to memory. It's important that you know that. Another thing I can talk about is the syntax for making an array. Here, I'll break this down so it's a little bit easier to look at. If you open a variable with a parenthesis, Bash knows you're making an indexed array. You can declare it manually if you wanted to. You could declare -a array. You can run this. Declare is built into Bash. And there's all sorts of things you declare. We'll go through these as the course progresses. But for now, we can declare with -a, make names an indexed array. So -a will make it an indexed array. This is the default for arrays, but we can do this. Totally valid. This is just explicitly doing this. The nice thing about this is you can do these steps separately. You could declare -a array here. So you could, declare the variable and then initialize it later if you wanted to. It's up to you how you do it, but this is the syntax for making an array, but it's assumed. You don't need it. I pretty much omit it because there's no reason for it. Now, here's the interesting thing. Let's say we wanted to copy an array. Here's something that might be useful to you. You'll probably encounter this. You want to make a new array equals this, and you want to copy over this array. Well, how do you do it? Because you might be tempted to do something like this. New array equals array. And then let's loop over the new array. So hopefully it's clear what I'm doing. I made an array. Let's call this first array. And we'll call this second array. And then we want to loop over the second array. So this is the copy of the array effectively. I don't know if this is clear or not. Hopefully it is. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. Item is foo. Okay, so we only got the first item out of it, so clearly it's broken. And of course we only got the first item out of it. When you open an array like this, you only get the first item out of it. So you might be thinking, okay, Dave, I listened to you. I know that we have to use this syntax. And thank you for listening to me, but now it thinks it's one big string because we've assigned it like this. We need to use this syntax. We need to put quotes around it. This is not enough on its own because it will still be a big giant string. And now we need to do parentheses. So we're not copying the array per se. We're actually, we are, but let me walk through what's happening here. We're making a new array. The open parentheses here means we're making a new array. And what items are we putting in the array? All of the items that are in first array. We are putting all those in there. In fact, we could add some new ones on. We could put Buddy and Guy in here too. And then if we run this, we will loop over foo, bar, baz, Buddy, and Guy. So this is the syntax for that. I'll go ahead and get rid of this. If you want to copy an array in Bash, this is pretty much what you need to do. And then if you are copying to an array, there's also another syntax you probably want to know about, which is the plus equal. We can push onto an array. Plus equal, and then you have to give it a new array. Think of this like, I think JavaScript has like splice or something. We're basically extending the array. We could put Buddy, Guy, and Joe here. So this syntax is valid. It looks weird, but it's totally valid. We run this, and now we have foo, bar, baz, Buddy, Guy, and Joe. So that's how you would push onto an array. You're basically extending it. You could extend it by another array. yeah, this is the notation for that. And one little thing I want to show you is how to pretty print a variable. There's a couple different ways to do this, but here's the cool thing about arrays. I can declare them here if I wanted to. I don't know why I'd want to, but I can just declare it on my terminal. Now I have an array. And if you want to see what's inside that array, it's kind of useful to know that it's an array because you might be like, okay, what am I looking at? Remember declare? Declare has a cool option. Let's see if I can find it. -p, display the attributes and value of each name. So we have echo array here. Let's declare -p, the name, not a $, the name of the variable. And now we get this version of it. Technically, I think we could paste this right back into our shell and it will work. But this shows you the attributes. This shows you how this variable was made. It's a -a, so it's an array. It's called array, and it has 0 is set to foo, 1 is set to bar, and 2 is set to baz. This syntax is valid. So if I just copy and paste this back in, this is valid. You can specify the keys this way. And the reason you might want to do this is because I could set 45 equal to buddy. And bash does have sparse arrays. So if I declare -p on array, you will see that there's array spot 0, 1, 2, and 45. If I open up array on spot 45 like this, you can see that we get buddy back. Now, how many actual elements are stored in here? Are there 45 elements? Well, no, we have to get the length of the array. How do you get the length of the array? Get ready for this. Put a £sign there. There you go. Now we got the length of the array. There are 5 elements: foo, bar, baz, and buddy. How are there 5 elements? That's wrong. That is incorrect. That is telling you the length of what is at spot. I'll explain this in a second. Put an @ sign here. Have that £sign in front of it. And now we get 4. There are 4 elements of the array. That is what this is telling you, that there are 4 items in the array. This syntax is telling you the length of the string. So the string at array spot 45, which is buddy, has a length of 5. Very confusing, but bash lets you do that. If I were to say var equals hello world, I can echo var, but I can also echo £sign var, and I have to put curly braces around it, and we'll get 11 because that's the length of that string. So here's a cool way to get the length of the string. You can also use that to get the length of the array. So array, and then you have to just do every element like that with the @ sign, and we get 4.